I'm an extreme of who you will likely run into, I hope, as far as someone who's been through things. This all started in 1987 with a work injury, and I herniated my L5-S1 disc. I was 26-year-old. I was healthy, never smoked, barely drank. I was like the poster child for back surgery. We went through all the conservative treatments. I became very acquainted with a lot of physical therapists and occupational therapists through the years. Went through all the x-rays and all of those wonderful things. Ended up having pain down both legs. That's when the doctor said, okay, we need to do surgery. So it was laparoscopic and, well, anyway, full fusion. And that was in 1989. In 1993, as you'll read through there, you'll see that I ended up with a total of 5 fusions just to get that one level fused. Why? There's no real explanation for that. So from there, I ended up with pain and nerve and muscle damage from the scar tissue from the pain. So that's one of the things that no one ever told me that that can be a problem, and that the scars can get tight, and that can affect your movement, and that can bring on a whole host of new problems for you. So we fast forward down 2006. I was rear-ended at a stoplight by a pickup truck going 50 miles an hour in attentive driver. Neck injury, brain injury. People can laugh and say, that explains a lot about you, Jory. Yes, it does. Bruised skull, which has never healed. 2013, I fell at home face first, dislodged my L4 vertebra. Honest, this is what happened. So that eventually went back in place. At that point, that fall was probably the best thing that's ever happened in my life, because the orthopedic surgeon referred me to a chiropractor. And I ended up with the chiropractor I have today, and I started with her in fall of 2013. At that time, I was on 60 milligrams of Oxycontin twice a day, plus oxycodone for breakthrough pain, muscle relax, the whole cocktail. I was at 212 pounds. I think you can see I'm not quite that anymore. So, but I started on this odyssey, this amazing travel into my body, which I'd never been allowed before. Everything that I'd gone through was all taking away my control. I was, when I got into the surgeries first, it was giving all my faith into the doctors, because that's all I had. Didn't know anything else. And I kept feeling, okay, we're gonna get this fixed. It was great talking about the fight or flight. I grew up that you fix things. I grew up that, if you cut yourself, mom says, if blood's not running, I don't care. That's how my whole life got wired. I loved learning. This was fascinating to watch. So all throughout it, failed fusion, okay, let's get it fixed. Failed fusion, let's get it fixed. Failed fusion, let's get it fixed. That just kept building and became more and more developed to where I was at a point where my flight took off on a one-way ticket and never told me where it went. Literally. It was all fight, because it was the only way I could survive, and I was in total survival mode, just getting through day to day. That's not the way to live. Trust me. You'll probably run into people like that. When you run into people like that, like they talked about, sometimes you'll see it in their face, you'll see the anger, everything there. Other times, they're just mild-mannered guy that walks in and says, yeah, here's my list of traumas, and, I guess we see what we can work on. Because you just hide it. So that's also not a good thing to do. So, strategies with pain. In 1998, they'd take out the hardware and stimulator was finally fused. Okay. 5 fusions, and I was finally fused. The surgeon removed the hardware because he saw that I was finally fused. It took me 1.5 years to get my mind wrapped around the fact that it was finally fused. So I kept waiting for it to go again. So with all the fusions I had, the repeated, that gets into complex PTSD, because I'm an overachiever. But when it's repeated, and that is child abuse, those are all those types of things, domestic abuse, when it's a repeated trauma of the same thing, that gets into complex PTSD, which is something they're just starting to really get out and recognize. Same as they're finally just starting to get pain to be one of the vital signs, needs to be one of the vital signs. So, so the surgeon washed his hands of me. I was fused, nothing else he can do. They don't do pain management. They don't really understand the structure of the body, and there's nothing wrong with that. That is how they work. So I kind of had to go forward and try to figure out, what do I do next? Everything was just in a shutdown. I had to figure out what my new normal was, because I didn't know what it was, because it kept changing anyway. So by the time I started seeing these two ladies, that's for sure, my pain tolerance was astronomically high. And we hear the pain tolerance, pain scale 0 to 10 should be like for amateurs, and us professionals, we want like 11 to 14, because you lose all track of your pain. So if you get somebody who comes in and you ask them what their pain is today, I can come in and say my pain's at a 5, but for someone else that might be at a 10 plus. That's why the pain scale is problematic, because each person has to relate to it in a different way. So be very conscious of that when you're talking with somebody on the pain scale. I've operated on my pain level of a 9, because I would not admit to a 10 for years. I could not go there. So, dissociation, that is certainly something that happens, because I ended up actually with dissociative amnesia, because I don't remember my kids growing up through all of this. All of that stuff gets lost, and it's all wrapped up in the traumas that are inside the body. And I had, before I fell and dislodged that L4 vertebra, I was on the path of long-term chronic pain. This guy's going to be on pain meds forever, and his life's just going to keep going down farther and farther. And I was wondering when I would end up in a wheelchair. Okay. I am thankful that I fell and dislodged my L4 vertebra, so that I can be here today and walk around in a change that's medically unexplainable. So I've been able to lose 57 pounds. Sorry, Marie Osmond, I did not do any crazy diets. I had a physical trainer, just said, hey, meats, vegetation, that's what people originally ate. And it was in my mind, and if you can get that to your patients, it planted in my mind that I had to lose this weight because it wasn't doing my back any good. So I had to turn internally and try to figure it out. That still is in survivor mode, because I wasn't looking for anyone else to help me. That's also in guide mode, but that's, don't want to get into that too much. So we kept moving forward. My chiropractor was she is an amazing person that I've had to be able to interact with. She has gotten me through so much. We got off all pain meds. I got off all of the OxyContin, and I had pain management doctor never even told me what withdrawal symptoms that I should look out for, which was great until all of a sudden they all hit me like a train wreck when I went from 40 to 20 because they don't make a 30 milligram pill. 5 months of that, yeehaw. But I kept getting off it. That's one of the biggest stories. It's like, you can get off the pain meds. I will also say that there is a place and time for pain meds. We need to have those still available for people. That's one of the problems we have going on today, but that's another story. So, kept getting off the pain meds, kept having these changes in my body. As the weight came off, my body had to readjust to that. as I got off the pain meds, my body had to try to get all of that stuff out of me. So there were more changes. And the only one I had guiding me through this was a chiropractor. Thank goodness for that. And imagine you have somebody come in with that list of traumas, and he comes in saying, yeah, can you help me? She'd never run into somebody like me before. I know these two probably laugh about that too. I'm not anything that's typical. Not because of what I did. So the determination of it, though, got me moving. My chiropractor, she keeps wanting to learn. She keeps wanting to find more information. How can she help her patients more? Which is how she ended up meeting Michelle. And I went in one day and she said, yeah, I met Michelle. She does this myofascial, and we talked about you. And I said, yeah, that's okay. Everyone talks about me. And then started going to that. The odyssey of going through the treatments with Michelle and now with Ann has been mind-blowing, because I didn't know all of this stuff that was still wrapped up inside of me. And as I'm back there listening to Michelle talking and the video, and I'm learning more stuff as well. I'm like, well, that certainly explains a whole lot of stuff. Took me, I don't know, not too long ago when somebody told me about the amygdala that gets damaged with a head injury. Thank you. That explains a lot of stuff. It's nice to at least know that there's some reason for it. It's not going to be able to heal it, but at least you have some idea. Some of the treatments that we've gone through is unwinding my body from the car accident. That was probably the biggest one. Because in the car accident, I was slammed forward and slammed back. My head hit the headrest so hard that it bruised the skull. And that trauma was locked in my body. So it's an amazing journey of unwrapping all of this with somebody who can actually work with the body. And that's part of what you want to do. You work with the body. If you work with the body, you work with the person. If you work with the person, you always end up with a great result. So you got to take that time to understand that part of it. How many of you have heard about dry needling? Yeah, I like that. Cool. Got exposed to that as well. Again, chiropractor, refer me over to that. That was a trip. He bent many needles as he was working on my back, which was funny. I wish I would have took pictures of some of them. But that was another piece of the puzzle which needed to be done to unwind everything. Now, like I said, my back's been cut open 4 times totally. The muscles on either side of the incision were basically dead. Couldn't really feel much. I mean, he did the needling in there, I didn't feel a thing. If you know dry needling, you got to realize, if somebody puts a needle in you and he's in there manipulating, you're like, you can start any time, you know, I'm kind of waiting here. This is like really exciting. Hey, what the heck, voodoo doll. I don't care, I'm a guinea pig. So, and my chiropractor too said that they're dead, but now we're like, okay, can we bring them back to life? Well, I don't know, I've done enough other things, so what the heck, let's bring those back to life too. What's different with my therapies today? I think I kind of covered that. I went from not having control because I had to put my faith into the doctors, which is fine, which is good. They have a place. We need to have them a part of what we do, to now where I've taken control of my life. I took control of my life being guided, though, by the alternative treatments. So everything I've done now, everything that's changed now is all from alternative treatments. If I would go back to when I injured my back in 1987 and herniated my L5 S1 disc, with what I know today, I probably would have never had to have any surgeries. That is how much has changed in the experience of working with the body and what's available. And I know that with Western medicine, they're actually doing more with referring people to yoga, meditation, mindfulness, in addition to acupuncture, massage, and chiropractic. So the change is into how we can work with the body, especially when you have somebody who has a lot of pain meds and stuff. The one thing I just want to close with, my chiropractor. Another day I walked in, she said, yeah, so I was talking with this lady that runs a CrossFit in Glendale. And because I've been doing stuff, I've been working, I've been doing yard work because I just was able to start doing this stuff more. At my parents' house, had big mounds of dirt brought in over 2 days, moved it all by myself. My back was fine. Back felt good after. That was like 3 years ago. So she got me started with a trainer at CrossFit. The trainer was born with a crack in his L5 vertebra, so he has an understanding of it. But you got a guy who's had 5 back surgeries. I was left with a 10-pound weight restriction from my surgeon in 1998. And I had to laugh because last Friday, the last thing that my trainer had me do was carry a 35-pound medicine ball back and forth this length 4 times and 3 sets of that. And I'm just like, whoa, okay, this is cool, you know? And the next day, my back was fine. I was tired, but my back was fine. Now, am I like some miracle man and I have no pain? No, because yesterday I felt the weather change coming in and it was killing me last night. But I feel I'm healed because my chronic pain no longer controls my life. And I'm able to do the things I do now, and I keep going to these ladies and learning more about my body. Because the other day, Ann was working on me. We found from the car accident another place that I had a tightness clogged in there. Never even knew it. So, you guys had a lot of hands up when I mentioned dry needling, which is a little bit off the norm course for what you do. I encourage you to embrace myofascial treatment. Because if I can find all the data, if I can get all the information together, I would like to have myofascial therapy be at least one of the first things that somebody with any type of an injury tries. And I think that it gets to the point where, you know, people will get a massage just to feel good, you know. Everything else is pretty good. They're stressed and things, but to get a massage